Hello and welcome to RSO Treasurer Training. My name is Dan Lenhart. I'll be guiding you through this training video. Um, there will be a PowerPoint that we will go through first, and then we'll go into VikesConnect. This is required for all treasurers of student organizations. The other officers of your organization are welcome to watch this video as well. However, they are not required. After watching this video, please make sure to take the quiz. Link to the quiz is found in the description of this video on our YouTube channel. By the end of this training, you should know the following. You should have a good understanding about timelines and when you should be submitting things. We'll cover fiscal policies and where you can find those, university purchasing policies, travel policies. We will talk a little bit about fundraising, and then how to create an allocation and expenditure request, as well as how to deposit funds. We do have an email for all financial questions. That's studentorgfinance@csuohio.edu. Because Cleveland State University is a state institution, we are subject to open records requests. That includes emails. We've been asked by the university's auditors to please remind you to use your CSU email account as opposed to your personal Gmail or whatever email you use when you are conducting business with us. So please, when you do email us at Student Org Finance, please try to remember to email us from your CSU email account. You're the only member of your organization with access to the finance tool. We do this to limit the amount of mistakes that may have been made in the past. So understand that you are the sole person responsible for the finances for your organization. You have two accounts, your organization does. Your first account is called your agency account, and that is like your bank account. You will be using VikesConnect to submit all your financial requests. Please understand, though, that VikesConnect is not tied to the university's accounting system. So it's up to us, both you and me, to partner together to make sure everything that is in VikesConnect is accurate. Also understand that you must do all financial activities within the university's accounting system. CSU does require oversight on all student organization finances. This means that you cannot open an external bank account. For example, you couldn't take some money and open a savings account for your club at Huntington Bank. All your banking must be done through the university's accounting system. Your agency account acts as your bank account. You could deposit money in, you could spend money out of that account. There is an account number associated with each one of your agency accounts. All agency accounts have the same format as you see there in the example. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be unique to your individual organization. So everybody has a different 5-digit number at the end. That number is both in the finance section for your use, as well as in the details tab of your organization, so that your other officers, when they're completing forms and it asks for your agency account number, they don't have to keep contacting you. They can look it up themselves. The other account that you have is your temporary account, and that is your allocating body funding account. There are 3 allocating bodies on campus for organizations. If your organization is a sport club, you will work with the sport club council to request additional funding. If your organization is a law school organization, you will work with Student Bar Association for your funding. All other organizations can request additional funding from Student Government Association. The money you receive from funding is to be used for the specific purpose that you asked. Any remaining funds will be swept and given back to the funding organization for reallocation. So as an example, if you were asking for $500 to put on an event and only spent $400, your organization doesn't keep that $100. It will go back to the funding organization for reallocation. So be aware of that. In the VikesConnect finance area, there are a total of 6 tools. You, as an organization treasurer, will only need to use 3 of them. The other 3 tools are for our use as administrators. So please do not use those. The tools that you will use are allocation, deposit, and expenditure. Allocation is when you're requesting funding. So you'll create an allocation anytime you need to ask for additional money. Deposit is pretty self-explanatory. The expenditure is when you're spending money. And you could be spending money several different ways. You could be reimbursing somebody for purchases they made. You could be ordering items. You could be paying an invoice, maybe paying national dues, any number of things. Anything like that, you're going to be creating an expenditure. As far as timelines go, please understand that we did have a budget officer. Unfortunately, she is no longer with us. I have taken over her responsibilities. Please give me enough time to work with you. Try to avoid dropping things on me at the last minute. We do have some policies in place, though, you do need to adhere to. If your organization is planning a travel trip, please make sure I know 45 days in advance. There is required paperwork that needs to be completed and signed prior to leaving. When it comes to events on campus, depending on the size and scope of the event will depend on how far in advance I need to know. Could be anywhere from 45 to 5 days. If you're planning a dinner dance fundraiser on a Saturday evening in the student center ballroom with a $5 cover charge, and you got snacks and a DJ playing music, that's definitely going to take more time to plan. And so we need plenty of time in advance notice. If you're just doing a table and maybe you're just doing an interlink table and doing a bake sale or recruiting, we don't need to know as far in advance. 5 business days is it. But don't forget, even with tables, if you don't follow this, you can't get it. Too many times last year, I had students asking for tables the day before they needed it. Those will not be approved. So please keep this in mind when you're planning things. If you need to purchase things for your organization, understand that it may take time. Depending on where we're ordering things from, may impact how much time it takes until we can get the items you need. So again, you need to give us enough time to do what we're doing to help you out. Finally, if you're reimbursing somebody, you have 10 business days once they give you the receipt to submit those. This past year, I was seeing reimbursements in April for things that were purchased in October the year prior. That is unacceptable, and inappropriate and not following policy. So please make sure that you submit receipts for reimbursement within 10 business days. When you are requesting funding, you will create an allocation request. The nice thing about our system is that you can request for multiple funding for multiple things in one form. In the past, you used to have to submit a funding request for each thing you wanted funding for. This, you can combine them all into one form. Once we go into it, I'll show you some examples. In addition, the funding body is going to want some documentation from you, essentially showing how you arrived at the dollar figure that you're asking for. So supporting documentation would be a budget, maybe examples of if you're asking for money for a trip, maybe show them what airline fees are at the current time. Show them how much the hotel is going to cost. That's the stuff that they need to see. Again, understand that I am not involved in the funding request process. I simply assist the treasurers in using the platform. They're the ones that make the decisions. So if they don't, if they turn down your request, please don't email me and asking me why. I won't know. I am not involved in the decision-making process. As far as deadlines, right now, student government is the only organization out of the 3 that have deadlines. Student Bar simply opens theirs up until funds runs out. And right now, Sport Club Council, they don't currently use VikesConnect to create allocations. You'll work with your advisor, Mackenzie, and the Sport Club Council to determine your funding levels. So sport clubs do not submit allocations right now in the system. When you're spending your money, whether you're paying for something or you're reimbursing it, again, the forms in VikesConnect allow you the flexibility to spend your money for several different things all at one time. That way you don't have to submit a whole bunch of requests. You can do a lot of things just in one form. Don't forget that when you submit allocation requests and expenditure requests, your advisor will be notified via email. They need to review and approve your request before we're notified. Okay. So it's really important that you keep your advisor in the loop and let them know when you're doing things. Sometimes advisors are not paying attention. They may not see the notification. It may go in their junk mail. So it's not a bad idea to shoot your advisor a quick email and say, hey, just submitted an expenditure request. You're going to get an email notification. I need you to review and approve as soon as you can. Thanks. Travel. I do need to know 45 days in advance of travel. You must have funding approved and in place before you make travel arrangements with me. Please impart to your organization members, do not make your own travel arrangements. I will make them for you. I have a university credit card. I will pay for all of your travel expenses. I will book your flights if you're flying and pay for them, or bus tickets or train tickets. I will pay for your accommodations and any entrance fees into the events that you're attending. The only thing your travelers would have to spend out of their own pocket would be for their meals and any other incidental costs. It is entirely up to your organization to determine whether or not you're going to reimburse them for their meals. Some do, some don't. There is no policy that states either way that you must. If you are going to reimburse them for expenses during a trip, they do have to turn in itemized receipts. Cleveland State does need to see exactly what was ordered. As an example, if you're 21 or over and you're traveling, you go out to dinner and order a glass of wine with your meal will be reimbursed, but not your glass of wine. Again, you have 10 business days once they return from their trip to submit those as expenditure requests and get them reimbursed. Warning, if a member of your organization takes it upon themselves to travel to some event, thinking that going to that would benefit their organization, but they did not notify our office, no travel paperwork was completed before they left, if they return back with receipts wanting to be reimbursed, the university will not reimburse that individual. Policy was not followed. We cannot backdate forms as they have to be approved before leaving. So very, very important. We've had this happen to organization students in the past where they've taken it upon themselves to travel thinking they'll be reimbursed, only to find out that they didn't follow policy and they won't get the money back. So super important about that. When you're planning events on campus, be aware of some stuff. Okay, I provide you with an event planning checklist to help you budget out your event. I would also urge you to reserve the space you want for your event, even if you don't have funding, if you know you're going to be asking for it. Last year, I saw a lot of organizations wait and see if they get the funding. And then when they tried to get the space they wanted to use, it was already taken. Go ahead and reserve your space. If you do not get the funding and you can't hold the event, then cancel your space reservation. We are asking everybody to please remember to check people into your events. You can use the VikesConnect desktop or mobile app to complete those. There are instructions in VikesConnect that you can follow with videos that will show you how to do that. Also, when you're planning events, if you're going to play music, please make sure it's family friendly. We want to avoid any music with explicit lyrics. Also, when you're planning an event, consider additional costs. University will not charge you for the use of the room itself, but they will charge you if you want the room set up a certain way. So if you need the room set up like with a bunch of round tables and chairs, that's going to cost your organization money. If you need an extra microphone or a podium or something that is not already in that room, you will be charged equipment fees. If your organization holds an event after 2 p.m. during the week or on the weekends, and you leave the room a mess, you will be charged a housekeeping fee. I have been told by housekeeping that if you clean up after your event, they will not charge you the fee. So be aware of that. Finally, if you're planning an event where there might be an admission fee to enter, depending on your event, you may be required to also have security presence, and they will charge your organization. The minimum cost for one officer is $220. So be aware of that. Finally, if you have an event that has been approved and you can see it in VikesConnect, but you need to either cancel the event or change the date, time, or location of the event, please do not just go into VikesConnect and edit or delete your event. That will not notify conference services. If you reserve space and don't show up, your organization will be charged a $50 no-show fee. And if you don't have any money in your agency account, you're suddenly in a deficit. Any organizations that find themselves in a deficit will be put on a temporary hold until the deficit is resolved. So planning in advance is so very, very, very important. One thing to be aware of, if you're serving food on campus, there are policies for that as well. If you spend up to, but not over $300, you can use any food vendor as long as without any additional approvals. But once you hit $300 up to $750, you must use catering or Rascal House. Once you hit $750 worth of food, you must use catering. The only exception to that rule is if catering can't provide the food you want to serve at your event, but you have a local place that does, you go through the catering waiver process. There's forms and other information that you'll need to provide to catering. They'll review and approve, and then you can use that other caterer. But again, if you don't spend over $300, you don't have to worry about that. When it comes to the waiver, I do see this a lot with international student organizations. Like, for example, the Pakistani Student Association. I know sometimes they hold events and they want to serve traditional dishes from their home country. And catering can't provide those, but they have a local place that can, and they'll go through the waiver process. If you want to order Rascal House pizza, please use the order form. You'll go through VikesConnect and we'll place it in MagnaSmart. Last year, I had too many treasurers and officers calling me at the last minute, telling me that pizza for their meeting was forgotten. And I would order it for them and use my university credit card to pay. However, I've been told that that is not a proper use of my card. So I can't bail you guys out anymore. So again, planning becomes so important. Also, if the company you're working with needs to be paid in advance, we can't do business with them. The university policy is that they do not pay in advance for anything. So be aware of that. Also, if you are working with an external caterer, please make sure if they'll accept a university purchase order or if they prefer to be paid by credit card. We need to know that up front, so make sure you ask them that. If they haven't done business with us in the past, we will need to set them up as a vendor. And so all of that takes additional time. So be aware of that as well. Other types of spending. If you need to order promotional items, things like clothing, like you want to order caps or t-shirts for your club members, or maybe you want to order pens with your club name to give out at the next event you're hosting. There are specific vendors that you must select and work with for those items. You cannot just go on customink.com and order t-shirts for your club. The university will not reimburse you. For online orders, if you need to purchase anything online, please do not purchase them yourself and look to be reimbursed. You may not get your money back. There are certain websites that the university does have corporate accounts with, such as Amazon and Apple. If you were to place orders and pay for things for your club from Amazon.com, you will not get your money back. The university will not reimburse you for purchases made on Amazon. In addition, You're also paying state of Ohio sales tax when you shop online. Cleveland State, being a state institution in Ohio, does not pay or reimburse for state of Ohio sales tax. It is always best to let us place orders for you online. The proper process is you simply shop like you normally would, select your items and put them in your shopping cart. When you get to checkout, take a screenshot of your shopping cart. That will act as your quote. You will attach that to an expenditure request, and once we receive it, we will place the order for you. If it's a website that we've not done business in the past, we will set up a tax exempt account so that we can place your order. So please try to avoid spending your own money and really try to avoid spending your money online. Now, I understand that sometimes people forget stuff. We're all human. That happens. If you do find yourself in a situation where you have to go to a store to buy some things at the last minute, try to remember to ask me for a sales tax exemption form. There's a little form that you'll fill out that will alert me. You'll let me know where you're going shopping. I'll fill it out specifically for that store and let you know it's ready for you to pick up. Come to my office, pick it up, and take it with you to the store. Show it to the cashier. It has the university's tax ID on it, and they will not charge you state of Ohio sales. If you need to increase orders on stuff, please make sure that you have the money to cover that increase. I've seen organizations go into a deficit because they changed a catering order and didn't realize they didn't have enough funding to cover the cost. Also, when we order things, they'll always be shipped to our office, not to individual homes. We will inform you once items arrive. When it comes to reimbursing, again, as I said before, we will not reimburse for Ohio State sales tax or purchases made on Amazon or Apple websites. Please try to remember to allow us to place those orders because we might not be able to reimburse you otherwise. When you're reimbursing somebody, as I've said during, like in the travel example, all receipts must be itemized. If you're purchasing multiple items at a store, one receipt is fine. You do not need to submit each item separately as a separate expenditure request. I don't know why students thought that they should do that way. If you need to reimburse more than one person, each individual will have their own expenditure request. Do not put multiple people on one reimbursement request. If the person used a credit card to pay, we also require a copy of the credit card showing the last 4 digits and name. That must match what's on the receipt, and those 2 pieces must match the person who is being reimbursed. I know that sometimes students are using their parents' credit cards. We will reimburse the parent, not the student. And again, 10 business days is what you have to submit reimbursements. Please do not sit on receipts and wait. As I mentioned before, you have to do all of your finances within the university's accounting system, so you can't have an external bank account. If you're planning on accepting credit card payments, whether your members want to pay membership dues using their credit card, or maybe you're doing a fundraiser where people want to pay using their credit card, you cannot use third-party credit card acceptance apps like Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, GoFundMe, Eventbrite, or anything like that. You must use ShopNet. ShopNet is Cleveland State's online portal for credit card payments. You will give IS&T your agency account, the full string with the 8405 and all the X's and that 5-digit number. They will set up a ShopNet account for you. And then you simply give people the website address. They can go online and make their credit card payment. The nice thing about this is every time somebody makes a payment, that money goes right into your agency account. You don't have to transfer funds from one account to another. You don't have to withdraw cash out and then do a deposit. It's all electronic. Your advisor will work with you to set up your ShopNet account. You'll work with IS&T. Your advisor will also need to ask for access to the O drive. The O drive is where the ShopNet reports are kept. Your advisor can pull a report once a week for you. And if you've had any transactions, you just update your balance in VikesConnect by submitting a deposit form. When it comes to fundraising, be creative. You can do as many fundraisers as you'd like. The only things to be aware of is there's a couple kinds of fundraisers that are not permitted. First is gambling. Gambling is not permitted unless you're a 501c3. We are not a nonprofit. We're a state institution. And so by default, none of our student organizations are nonprofit. So you can't do gambling like 50-50 raffles, games of chance, Super Bowl squares, things like that. Anything where people would pay a small amount of money for the chance to win a big pot of money, and the money could be cash or it could be gift cards. The IRS considers cash the same as gift cards. Okay, so be aware of that. The other type of fundraising that is not permitted, and it's the last point on the slide, if you're contacted by an outside company and they try to get you to sell their products online on campus, you are not permitted to do that. Companies are not permitted to use organizations as their salespeople, even in the guise of a fundraiser. They're also not permitted on campus themselves to sell to students. And so be very careful with that. If you are planning a fundraiser, please reach out to me and I'll work with you to see if it is appropriate. Don't forget, you got to use ShopNet. Big sales. I know a lot of people do big sales. Just remember there are food sales policies as well. They have to be store-bought items, no homemade items, and they must be individually wrapped. When it comes to deposits, you just fill the form out. There is a link to my calendar. It looks like this right here. Fill out the form, click the calendar link, make an appointment to see me as soon as possible, and I'll do your deposits. Please make sure that all checks are made out to Cleveland State University. Checks should not be made out to your organization's name of your organization, unless you do like the ABC organization at Cleveland State University. Cleveland State University should be who the check is made out to. They can put your club's name in the memo line. Now, if you're just updating your balance because you have a ShopNet account and you want to make sure that you record those transactions, because don't forget, VikesConnect isn't going to know about those transactions because it doesn't communicate with the university's accounting system. All you have to do, there's a place where you'll be able to attach the report. You don't need to make an appointment to see me if it's just for ShopNet. The only time you make an appointment is for cash and checks. So again, as a review, timelines. Good rule of thumb, as I tell students, a month and a half, so 30 to 45 business days, please. You know, travel's got to be 45. Events, again, it's going to depend on the size and scope. But be aware that, and I had this happen more times than it should have last year. I had a lot of organizations asking for a table on the interlink like the day before they needed it. That is not policy. That does not follow timelines. That cannot be approved. So please, again, I urge you to plan accordingly. When you're purchasing things and they're going to get delivered to our office, understand that sometimes things take a while. Everything gets shipped to a central location at the university, and then it's delivered to each department. Sometimes things get misplaced. That happens. With a big university, sometimes the package goes in the wrong box. Sometimes we have to track it down. That's why you might think, gosh, that's an awful long time in advance to let them know about it. Well, we're trying to build in some fail-safe time just on the end case. Okay. I'm better safe than sorry kind of person myself. So if you can let us know well in advance, all the better. And don't forget, when you're reimbursing somebody, 10 business days. Reminders. Don't forget, please try to remember to use your university email account as opposed to your personal account when you're conducting business with us. Don't forget, we don't pay state of Ohio sales tax. We won't reimburse you for it either. Try to get a tax exempt form if you need to go to the store. Don't place orders with any of the promotional vendors. Just get a quote. In the past, we've had vendors say, hey, I'll place the order for you now. That is not proper procedure. You just get the quote and attach it to an expenditure. We'll place the order for you. Money does need to be deposited within 24 hours after receipt. So when you hold a big sale, you can't sit on the money for a week. You got to come see me right away so we can deposit it. We won't reimburse people if paperwork was not completed ahead of time. So please make sure that members know. And finally, planning in advance. You've heard me say this several times. I cannot stress that enough. We also have a main number for our office, main email. It's studentorgs@csuohio.edu. So you can also reach us that way. That ends the PowerPoint. We're now going to go into VikesConnect. I am logged into VikesConnect right now using a fake student account. His name is Stu Life. And Stu is the treasurer of my fake organization. I'm using this so that you can see more closely what you would see as opposed what I see as a top level admin, because I have access to a lot of information that you don't. I do want to point out the resources tab to you guys. The second link down is the manual. So everything I just covered during the PowerPoint, you can find in greater detail in the manual. It's there for your use. Please refer to it. Things like payments and donations, things like tax exempt status, clothing and promotional items, printing, online, all those things I talked about, event policies, your event classifications that I mentioned before, other event information that you might be aware of, all your travel policies, fundraising. Okay, so it's all located here, all for your use. You'll always find it under resources as the second link down. Also, be aware that the manual is a living document. What that means is if there is any changes to policies that impact student organizations, I will update the manual. So I try to keep it as fresh and up to date as possible. The other page is RSO links. And this page is the one that I would recommend that you bookmark. I have all the things that you would need as a treasurer all on one web page, so it's easy to find. So again, there's that same manual I just showed you. I do have shorter videos that just hone in on expenditure and allocations that you can watch if you forget. The PowerPoint that I just showed you, you can find it right there and refer to it anytime. Modern Campus is the company that builds our platform. They have their own resources of how to use this system. You do have to be logged in first. If you receive funding from student government, here is their student government funding guidelines for this coming year. Food-related information, including the waiver request and the Rascal House order form, are found in this section. All your event, on-campus event costs, information, and tools are located here. So for example, there's your event classifications. I mentioned if there's an admission to an event, it's going to be a class 1 event. Conference services needs to know 30 working days. Okay, so those big events, they need plenty of time. I tell students, tack on an additional 5 working days just to give your advisor the opportunity to review and approve. The more time you can give us, the better. I also provide you with the event planning checklist. This will help you build your budget for your event that you're planning. I encourage you to use this tool as well. Fees, or potential fees, I should say. Room setup fees, equipment fees are on spreadsheets, police charges, and it's all explained in here. Here's housekeeping charges. If you do end up getting, if you don't clean up after your event, you get charged. That's what you're looking at. This form here, this is the one that you fill out when you need to cancel or change the date, time, location. Fill this out, give it to conference services. Once they approve, then you can go back into VikesConnect and make your changes to your event. I also provide a liability waiver and a green event guide. Contracts. So again, you as a treasurer cannot sign contracts, but you'll be the point person to shepherd a contract through the process of being completed and signed by all parties. Special event agreement is when you're hiring a service like a photographer, a photo booth, games, stuff like that. Performance agreement is when you hire a DJ or a band or some entertainer or speaker. Okay. If you're holding an event off campus and the location has a contract, you must review the off-campus agreement information. General counsel has to review the contract, and that can take up to 4 months. So be aware of that. Promotional items. The list of vendors. All you have to do is pick one. They're all pretty much the same. I like Consolidus and Ronnie, but you can use Andre or Anook. Doesn't matter. Contact them. Let them know what you're looking to order. They'll work up a quote for you. You get it from them, and you submit it as an expenditure request. That simple. Here's all your travel stuff. Travel request, emergency contact form. I also provide a link to the University Parking Services van rental program. If your organization wants to rent a van from the university, travel as a group, you can take advantage of that. Here's your other finance forms. So there's your link to ShopNet. Again, I don't run ShopNet. That's IS&T that does that, but it has all the instructions and all the information you need to set yourself up and have a ShopNet account. There's your form you fill out if you're going to a store and you don't want to pay state sales tax. Now you just fill this out, let me know where you're going, and I'll take it from there. You just come and pick it up and take it to the store. If you do want printing or duplicating done, you just fill this form out, let them know what you want to order. They'll respond back with a quote. If it's acceptable to you, you just simply then submit it as an expenditure request. I provide some links to fundraising ideas for you guys. I like these 2 top websites. They got some really cool ideas for fundraisers you could take advantage of. Group Raise is a website that lists restaurants in the local area that do fundraisers. BW3 has their own specific program that you could check out. I can provide a link to that. Browns and Guardians, you can your club can run one of their concession operations during a game and earn money that way. We had several organizations take advantage of that fundraising opportunity. They worked with our sport management club with those opportunities. Finally, there's the Mally's chocolate bars. Those are an acceptable form of fundraisers. There's also like popcorn fundraisers and stuff like that. Again, if you're not sure if it's an acceptable fundraiser to do, please contact me. Then there's some other forms that clubs and organizations may have to use from time to time. If you're updating your constitution, you submit it here. If you're changing any officers, by the way, guys, understand that to be an RSO, you have to have all 4 officers. So if you have to replace an officer, if you have to fill an open seat, that's the form to let me know. I'll take over from there. If they're eligible, then I'll put them in their position. As an officer, guys, you have to be enrolled in 6 credit hours and you have to be in good academic standing. So do be aware of that. I also provide resources for the video screens in the Student Center. And if you want an announcement in the Viking newsletter, I'm the person that creates that you get every Monday morning. If there is something that you can't find and it's not located on this page, please reach out to me. Okay, we are now going to go into the admin side of things. I'm going to point out this help bubble for you. I mentioned something about check-in and checking people into events. If you simply type in check-in, event check-in training is the first link. It will walk you through how to check people into your event, either using the desktop version or the mobile app version, and it even includes videos that you can watch. They also have a live chat. So if you do get an error and you can't get in touch with me, you can send them a message. They have help support on call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. If you message them outside of those hours, they will respond back the next business day. Okay. Your organization's tools will be found here. I'm going to click on the fake organization. Notice when I click on the name of the organization, this loads all the information, a lot of it that is found on your portal view of your organization's page. Okay. So it's the details section. Your organization can edit this, and you as a treasurer, you can do the same thing. You can edit it as well. You can edit your details as many times as you want. The reason I'm showing you this is if you scroll down a little bit, notice here's your organization's constitution, and right below it, that's where the agency account number is found. Okay. So you don't have to worry if your vice president wants to submit an event request and it's asking for their agency account. They can look it up themselves. They don't have to reach out to you to do that. And you can remind them, just say, hey guys, don't forget, agency accounts on the details part. I'm not going to go over these other tools. You're welcome to watch the other officer training. However, I want to focus on the tools that you use specifically as a treasurer. Okay. So you notice here how student government, when you first come in, you probably will just see this. Whatever you see that is who you get funding from. So in this example, this fake organization gets funding from the student government. Yours may say Student Bar Association if you're a law school, or sport club if you're a sport club council, if you're a sport club, obviously. Click the plus sign will open up that, and what you'll see next is the name of your organization. Don't click on the name of your organization, click the plus sign next to it to open it, and there you'll see your agency account. The allocated number on the right column is a running total. As you make deposits in your agency account, this number will increase. The number you need to pay attention to is in the left column. That's how much money you have available to spend. And right there is your agency account number, those 5 digits. For your funding, you have a header. Don't click on the name, but instead click the plus sign. And when you scroll down, you'll notice that your funding is broken down into very specific little sub-funding budgets. Okay, so there's one for events, there's one for travel, there's one for other, and one-time 150. Now, again, if you're watching this and you're a sport club treasurer, you won't see any of this. All you'll see is your agency account and however much the sport club council gave you. So they don't break it down like others do. Student bar does break it down, but a little bit differently than student government. Okay, so that's how your budgets are all built. Up here in the upper right is your create button. There's the tools that you'll be using. We'll look at deposit first, since that's the easiest. Pretty straightforward. You'll see right there, here's the link to my calendar so you can make an appointment. You just fill this out. If you have 2 deposits, let's say you have a deposit from a fundraiser and a deposit for dues, please create 2 separate deposit slips. Also, when you click the add button, you'll notice that it will add a second one down below. Okay. If one of the deposits is for ShopNet, you know, right here, it'll say right here, did you use ShopNet? If you say yes, right there is where you would attach it. So you could be doing 2 deposits. Just make sure you click the add. You could be doing one for ShopNet, maybe one for membership dues or fundraiser or something, and you got to check. Okay. Submit for approval, and you're done. And then you come see me if you've got cash and checks. Again, don't forget, checks made out to Cleveland State. It even says up here, check made out to Cleveland State University. Okay. So that's your deposit tool. Allocation. Give it a moment to load. Put in your name of your organization. Excuse me. Here's where we ask you about if you're a sport club or a law school. Again, if you're a sport club, the system will tell you, hey, you don't use this, reach out to McKinsey. So sport clubs don't use the allocation tool. Law school, if you say yes, notice Student Bar Association appears and you answer their questions. And you tell them, what are you asking for? You can ask for multiple things, like I said. You could ask for travel and event at the same time. Okay. If you're not a law school, then you say no. And obviously now it's student government. So let's do an example. Let's say that you want to put on an event, you need funding for that. You want to send a member of your organization to represent at a conference, and you need to order some supplies. You need money for supplies for your club. As you select these items, SGA will ask you questions about each category. Answer the questions. There's one for event, one for travel, and one for other funding needs. When you get to the very bottom, you'll see submit funding details here. Notice this add button, okay? So we are asking for three things. We're asking for money for an event. And again, I'm doing this very shorthand. You'll want to put in as much details as you can cram in here. That way there's no questions. So give them details. Put in how much you're asking for. And where it says budget, this is where you open your organization, you open your funding, and then you select the appropriate sub budget. So this is for event, so we're going to select the SGA event funding budget. Right here is where you would upload your budget details that you create. Then you click the add button, scroll down a little bit, and now we're going to ask money for travel. Again, don't forget, you want to provide as much details as you can. Okay. Put in the dollar amount. And in this instance, now we're going to have it put in travel. Scroll up a little bit, click the add button again, scroll down. And now we're asking money for supplies. If I could type. Now you get it. Right. However much. And in this instance, and then budget details. It'll give you how much you're asking in total. You just scroll all the way back up to the top of the form and click submit for approval. Your advisor will be notified. They'll review and approve. Once they approve, the funding body takes over, and then they will render their decision. So that's how you ask for funding. It's that simple. All right. We're now going to look at the last tool, and that's your expenditure request. So let's use an example. Let's say, for example, you need to reimburse somebody for a purchase they made. You also need to order food for your next meeting. In addition, you need to record the cost of travel. When I make travel arrangements for you guys, I will always send you a copy of the receipt so that you have them for your records. You'll upload them into VikesConnect so you can record the cost of that. So it backs out that amount out of what you were given or what you have in agency. Okay. So this is where you tell what we're doing. So you could be, recording the cost for travel, reimbursing, ordering food, and maybe you need to order some things online. So you're doing 4 different things. You can do it all in one form. Give it a title. And I would be specific. Again, you could say like reimbursement for travel to Chicago, semicolon. Order food for next meeting at Rascal House, semicolon. Order supplies online, semicolon. Recording costs of travel from Chicago trip. So you want to be specific. You want to give a lot of details. That helps us out. Again, sport clubs and law school, you guys have people in that are staff in those two areas that also help me with your finances. And so in for the sport clubs, again, that'll be Mackenzie. For law school organizations, that's Jill Natron. Okay. And so answering those questions notifies the appropriate people as well as me. You're always going to, most likely, you'll always say yes to this. You are spending on multiple things, and you tell us which category. So again, we're going to do a reimbursement. We're going to order some food. We're also going to order some supplies, and we have to record the cost of travel. So 4 things we're doing on this one form. First thing, food. On or off campus. If you're off campus, those policies don't apply. You just upload the quote. Off on campus, then we ask how much you're spending. Now, if you're spending over 300 and you choose an outside vendor, the system is going to be like, okay, well, then a waiver is going to be required and you've got to provide all the information. Remember what I said, you got to find out if they're willing to accept a university purchase order or how they want to be paid. Okay. If you didn't ask them yet, the system will stop you. You won't be able to go any further. So that's why it's important you ask right up front. If they're willing to take a purchase order, you just upload their quote as well. And then we ask you, did they do business in the past? If not, then we'll also need certain information to send to them so they can set themselves up as a vendor and be paid. So depending on how you answer questions will depend on what you see next. Okay. Supplies. Let's say you need to order things from Amazon and Walmart. Well, you'd fill one out for Amazon. And you'd give us, here's where you'd upload the shopping cart, answer the questions. And then for Walmart, all you have to do is click the add button. And then you can come down a little further and then give us all the stuff for Walmart. Okay. So you can place multiple online orders in one form as well. Travel. If you were recording the cost of, say, the hotel, you would just attach the hotel receipt I sent you just to record it. But if you had more than one, maybe you're recording not just the hotel, but airline fees as well, click the add button. You can attach both. Okay. Reimbursement, same thing. If they did multiple purchases and they have multiple receipts, you just click the add button and add as many slots as you need to attach each receipt. Again, don't forget, receipts have to be itemized. The university won't reimburse for alcohol. Okay. So you fill all that out. If they did use a credit card, here's where you would attach it. And then you let us know who is being reimbursed. When you get to the expenditure items section, again, there's that add button. Now you got to tell us what account is paying for what. So with the reimbursement, maybe you're going to use your agency account. So just like allocations, you just open your organization. Don't select your organization. That's incorrect. You want to open it and then select your agency account. And then you put in however much that it is. And it even tells you. Now, in our example, if I was to put in 50 here and try to submit it, I'm going to get an error because there's no money in that account. Okay. So that's for the reimbursement. Maybe for the food, maybe it's for not a meeting, but it's for an event, right? And you got event funding for that. So in this instance, you would open it up, open your funding accounts and select your event funding. And how much are you spending? Okay. Scroll up again because now we got to record the cost of travel. Well, you got travel funding. So you click add again, scroll down. This one would be for the travel. The budget used. Well, it could be your agency account or it could be funding you got. Okay. And then for supplies, again, you add again. And here, let's say, for example, that supplies are going to cost you 500 and you had 250 in your agency account and you had 250 in a funding account and you need to use both. All you have to do is select your agency account and put in half the amount. So in my example, that would be 250. Click add again, scroll back down. And for your other supplies, you'd select, the appropriate funding account, and you'd put it in the other half. The supplies are going to get paid for 500, but half out of your agency account and then half out of your funding account. Okay. So that is how you create an expenditure. Again, don't forget, I got a little video that you can watch that goes over this process if you need a little refresher. And always feel free that you can reach out to me if you have any questions. You simply submit and we take it from there. Do be aware that when it comes to expenditures, we will not do a final approval until everything is delivered and paid for. So while we're working on it, it may look like your request is just sitting there. Know that we are working on your request. It's just that we won't approve it, do the final approval for it until we know everything has been taken care of, just to cover our bases and make sure there's been no mistakes. So do be aware of that. That ends my training. If you don't have any, if you do have questions, please reach out to me. Don't forget to take the quiz. Again, the link is found in the video description right below in YouTube. Thank you for attending this training for treasurers. Have a great day.